You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
David McDivitt, live from Philly. Is that
you? Hey, Ross Ford. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me all right?
Through the dense urban jungle that is Philadelphia.
I've never been to Philadelphia before. How is the city?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful city. I was in New York. I woke up in New York City this morning, got on a train at Penn Station, this new terminal they have called Moynihan Train Terminal, which is gorgeous. Got myself a cup of coffee and a really horrible croissant with ham and egg in it. I'm sorry, ham and cheese. Took a train. I'm in Philadelphia meeting with some lawyers today, and then I take a train back to New York City tonight for more meetings. So it's just a busy week. I was in Charleston last week for the water cases. You know, we represent a lot of people in Fountain, Security, and Widefield regarding contaminated water.
Like that, yeah.
Yes, exactly. PFAS, the perfluorinated carbons that are in the water, and we had a hearing with the judge. We're starting to finally work through some of the cases that involve individual people in El Paso County. So it's, this case has been going on for 8 years now.
Is it been that long now? I was thinking like 4 or 5. 8 years.
No, we started working with clients in 2016 on this. It's 2024. It's been 8 years.
That is amazing.
6 of those have been in federal court in Charleston. The year before that was in federal court in Denver, and then the cases were moved, consolidated with thousands of cases around the country. And we've just been slogging through different types of cases, and now we're finally involved working on the personal injury cases, the people who've developed testicular cancer, kidney cancer, ulcerative colitis, thyroid disease, folks in our community who have developed these conditions. We believe they are linked to the contaminated water, and we've just been fighting for years to get
That's amazing
3M to take it seriously.
It's the slow wheels of justice. And a lot of these companies too could drag it out, unfortunately, because then they're like, hey, if all these folks suing us died, and there's no one left to sue us,
Yeah, it's and that happens on different cases, even individual cases where we represent somebody who's been catastrophically hurt in a crash. And they are literally fighting to stay alive, and sometimes these insurance companies or the corporate defendants, who I can't say this is all the time, but there are times where you can tell they're dragging, hoping that they don't have a plaintiff anymore, because it changes the damage calculation for them. Depending on who a person is, what their family situation is like, and who might be able to maintain a claim after they die. Some of these companies know that they'll pay less money if the person doesn't survive.
And unfortunately, they're doing their job.
Yeah, well, not as people. That's the thing.
Not as humans, but as far as just the guy doing their job. And then, so you mentioned you're in Philly. For some reason, I feel like Philadelphia is like the law mecca of this country. Is that anything? I don't even know why I even think that, but
maybe you're thinking of the Declaration of Independence, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe.
The Constitution, some of these things that were, keep in mind, Philadelphia was the seat of government, and it was kind of where it all gelled, came together. I'm talking a couple hundred years ago, but now we have, now maybe you're thinking of Delaware, though, too, because we have a lot of companies that are registered in Delaware, but no, Philadelphia's got a huge legal history here. I mean, it's it's kind of where it all started for us in the United States.
The only thing I know for sure is Always Sunny in Philadelphia is based out of there. That's one of the greatest
I can tell you right now, that's a bunch of baloney.
What?
It is not sunny in Philadelphia, and I haven't seen Danny DeVito.
Not yet. You look harder. No. He's tiny. He's a tiny man. Okay, here we got a bunch of questions from listeners. If you have anything you want to ask the Law Frog live from Philadelphia this morning, you can do it on the rock lines at 633-KILO. Got a couple that we had talked about on the air that are a little bit lighthearted. We can start there. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
From the Kilo Freak News. Dude drops off his car at a shop to get some repairs done. Someone takes it for a joyride. They wreck it. Turns out, it's a collectible Camaro worth $97,000. He's, of course, going to sue. He's, of course, going to win. But can you sue for more than the $97,000 the car was worth at that time? Because it's kind of more of an investment. That thing gets more valuable every year. And, so it's like, yeah, it's worth $97 now, but I bought it because I knew it was going to be worth $150 in a couple of years.
Yeah, so I think the best way to answer this is to identify the fact, or identify the different damages that you can sue for in a situation like this, and recognize that they are going to be limited to property issues. Like you could argue that you've got some emotional stress from this, but that's really not going to fly in a case like this. You're really suing somebody. You weren't in the wreck, exactly. So you weren't in what they call a zone of danger here. It's just if somebody pulled a Ferris Bueller day off kind of stunt,
exactly,
totaled your car. So you're suing for the loss to you. Now there are two losses here. Number one is just the loss of the car itself. Number two would be the loss of the use of the car. Along with, and look, you can come up with some other things too. With respect to the damage to the car itself, it's been totaled, you have to pay to replace it. So where do you go and get another 2018 Camaro Hendrick Edition with, less than 1,000 miles on it? That may be tough to find.
Yeah.
So you can go with the, your damage is going to be determined by what you can prove the damages are. So you have to prove what the car was worth. Now you've got an appraisal of, what would you say, $97,000. When was that appraisal done? You probably want to get another appraiser to come in here and talk about how the value has increased since that first appraisal. Because a car like that probably, but I don't know, continues to go up in value, but maybe it's not rare enough and the value actually declines. It could be that you can get a replacement car for less than $97,000. So if you've paid $97,000 for it, maybe you can get the 97. You want more than that? Can you prove that it's worth more than that? Now, the other thing has to do with insurance. A car like that needs to be insured. Just you've got to insure it. So if you are the owner of the car, you're most likely making a claim with your insurance company. I'm not in the world of collecting cars. I wish that I were. I like cars a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm aware from just watching, these car auctions on TV from time to time, Barrett Jackson kind of stuff, that there are companies, I'm thinking of Haggerty, for example, that insure classic cars. And I'm sure they have a whole protocol for how they value a car, how they pay it out if it's totaled. So I think the first stop is to go to your insurance company and say, hey, look, this is totaled out. You got to pay me my own insurance company. And then you can go after his insurance company.
And that insurance company would go after that, basically?
Yeah,
so
exactly. And they call that subrogation. And so there's a chance he doesn't need to sue the people at all. Now, there is an inconvenience factor to it.
Or a negligence? Is there any negligence due to the fact that it was this trusted shop you gave your car to and they took it away and wrecked your car?
Yeah, there are. And there may be a way that you could then sue and argue for punitive damages. And it requires a certain level of misconduct to get punitive damages awarded, to just punish bad behavior. So there's a chance that you can get that too, if you want to hit the person. I mean, if you want to sue the person. I think he wants to hit the person.
Yeah,
but
right.
We're not going to do that. So, but and you've got some intentionality here too, where it sounds like they were, like they intended to do what they did. I don't know that they intended to damage the car, though. Would
the employee be protected under the business's insurance then?
Well,
you couldn't go out the guy that stole the car in the first place? Probably not, right?
No. I mean, you're not going to get the guy's working at a car shop.
That's a good point. And stealing cars at lunch. He's probably not loaded.
No, he's not. So your suit's going to be against the maintenance shop, and then you'll name that driver in the suit, absolutely, but you also name the company because they're the ones who are negligent as well in letting this guy do this, not properly vetting their employees, not supervising them, what they're doing with the car. So the shop has a lot of responsibility here too. So you just have to understand what makes the most sense for you as a person with the time that you have. Start by letting your insurance company know about it, file the claim, see how they're going to handle the claim, and then if you're not fully compensated, you can go after the shop.
See, nothing even as simple as this ain't easy. I just can't wait to hear the court thing. Did you hire Peter McNumbnuts, the man that wrecked this car, sir? Yes, I hired him. Why did you hire him then?
Because his name's Peter
McNuts.
Yeah, what a name.
All right,
you have to hire that guy.
Another one, the national one from Citizen Dan. I think it's more tongue-in-cheek because we've had all these lawsuits. With all these lawsuits about where a product is made, I think he's pointing to there was like a hot sauce that is like Texas hot sauce, but it was made in North Carolina. And someone
Texas
was
Pete.
suing Texas Pete.
Yeah.
And I looked for the latest on that. There's been nothing new on that lawsuit.
They dismissed that lawsuit.
They did. They threw it out, huh?
Yeah.
Is that more often than not? Does that happen? Probably.
Yeah, more often than not. One of two things happened.
You think he got paid off? You think the guy got made money? What?
He might have. I don't know. But I don't know that he did. Let me tell you about something that did pay off.
What?
Did you know, Red Bull? Yeah. What's the slogan, Ross? What's the slogan?
Gives you wings.
Red Bull gives you wings, right? We all know it. 10 years ago, somebody sued Red Bull, and you can guess where I'm going with this.
Because they didn't get wings.
Why did they sue? They didn't get wings. They were drinking it. Nope. They noticed no change in their body. They didn't get wings.
Wow.
They paid out $13 million to settle that lawsuit.
Why am I such a nice person instead of a litigious a-hole? Why couldn't I be that guy?
Here's the thing. He's not going to get a lot of it. A lot of that is to punish the company for factually misleading consumers.
If you're an idiot and think something's going to actually make you grow wings.
I agree. I think that one is a nuisance payment. $13 million in the grand scheme for them wasn't a whole lot, but they changed.
In Red Bull's heyday, $13 million was like 5 minutes of their day.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, look at the slogan now. It's still Red Bull gives you wings. They just added, 2 or 3 I's. So it's wings.
Whoa! I did never realize that at all.
Look at it. Look at their slogan now. It's Red Bull gives you wings.
And now it's not really a word, so you can't guarantee I'm getting wings because there's no such thing as wings.
That's right.
Wow, that is amazing. All right, well, the question comes from a pizza they found at Safeway. It's a frozen pizza labeled product of France. I know it didn't come from overseas. That's right. There's no way they're shipping frozen pizzas across the ocean. But then there is a tag on there saying crafted and using unique recipes. So I think they're saying it's a recipe from France, henceforth
it's a French
product
recipe
of France. Because it's what is it? Truffle and mushroom pizza. What are you, first and foremost, sir, what are you buying a frozen truffle and mushroom pizza for in the first place? Shame on you. You should be sued for $13 million, sir.
Go get a Totino's party pizza and call it a day because that's what
Totino's. That's all you need. So is that a loophole then for them, just like the Red Bull gives you wings? The fact that
because what they're doing,
it's crafted in using unique recipes.
Yeah, I think somewhere in there they might explain it. That's why the Texas Pete thing, it even says on the bottle, Texas Pete is made in North Carolina. It says it on the bottle. They're just called Texas Pete. That's the guy's nickname, or that's the brand's name. And I think one of two things happened with that. They either were able to get the case dismissed by the judge, or it was dismissed per agreement between the parties because there was some kind of a settlement, maybe very small. Who knows?
God, I hope.
Now, with your guy at the grocery store, I know. It's one thing to have a company out there misrepresenting the facts, and that's what these lawsuits are good for. It's another if people are just trying to exploit the failure to be so explicit in creative marketing that it won't give you actual wings. I mean, we all know that's a metaphor. Like it's. I'm all for class actions and being able to hold companies responsible for misleading behavior and making sure that they conduct themselves in a responsible way. But I think some of that stuff's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
Wait, is the which one there?
The Taco Bell, the cracked Taco Bell.
The cracked Taco Bell. Yeah, they call it the Taco Liberty Bell.
Right? Yeah.
Let's talk about the Liberty Bell. Oh, that was stupid.
Original name was the Liberty Nachos. It was like the most famous thing on the Taco Bell thing, and then the bell broke, and it was ugly, and oh man!
Yeah,
but
it's like a colonial little league team that came over.
There you go. The bad news bear. It's a tangled tale. We don't have time to get all into it, but there's proof I was educated in a public school. Right there. All right, let's see here. Real quick, we got the tournament, the golf tourney on Friday. You guys at McDivitt Law, one of the fine sponsors of this here thing, helping out the Santa's Workshop there on post. And you can, of course, make it because you're on the East Coast. But you kicked your team. You punted your team to me. He said, Ross, find me ringers. I want military guys. and I got them. We got
Team
Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. It's Kelly and Scott, a couple of pals, and their wives. And they are like close to scratch golfers, I think. One had a 5 handicap, another with a 3 handicap. And the girls are even better. Scott claims, he said, well, my wife beats me a lot, but I tell her it doesn't count because she gets to shoot from the closer tee.
Doesn't matter. In a scramble like this, I mean, that's what you want.
Dude, duffers are quick to really dissect the game and to make it look more beneficial to them.
Let me tell you something. The result, this group's score is going to be so much better than what my team did last year. And because I was on, I like to think I anchored that team, and it was just an embarrassment. Our score was
you anchored all right. By that, you mean you dragged it to the bottom of the ocean.
Bottom. Wouldn't let it move.
So I think
horrible.
I smell a championship in the tournament under the McDivitt flag. I'm just saying.
Kelly, we're proud. We're excited for you, your wives. Thank you for picking up the torch, the mantle for us, and then just honestly going and just dominating. I mean, there ought to be a 20-stroke lead here. I'm excited.
No, they're confident, and they want to thank you so much because obviously it's a good chunk of change to buy one of those teams, and you gave it to them for free, and they all got the day off, so they're going to hang around and drink beer. So they wanted to say thank you so much for thinking of them.
Oh, this is great.
Pretty cool.
Yep.
All right, let's get back to some questions here today. We got Lizzie with a really tough one. Did you want to do the tough one first, or you want to do the UC Health?
What's the tough one? What's the
tough one's the motorcycle accident with no will?
Oh, gosh, yeah. All right. We talk about that, or do you want to do the easy one first?
Let's do the easier one first. Sorry, I got my questions out of order here. All right, let's get to Colleen first then. I've been fighting with UC Health over a bill when my daughter was born 3.5 years ago. First Anthem had back-end issues and thought it was paid, and it wasn't. Now they say it's paid. I owe nothing. And then someone else says they still owe. Is it my responsibility to sort out issues between the two different places? Oh, so it's a kind of a fight between UC Health and Anthem. One thought it was paid. One says it's not paid. And they want her to fork over the dough. Interesting. So, would I have any rights to go after them for unfair billing practices? Yeah, do you have to, if their billing and accounting process sucks, is it your fault?
Well, listen, a couple of things. The unfair billing practice, in its strictest sense, is really a law that's designed to make sure that hospitals aren't billing people. There is not some kind of bias built into their system.
Like based on race or income and stuff like that?
Exactly. Gender, well, not income usually, but gender, race, sexual orientation, things like that. That they don't, somehow they're not billing people of a protected category X amount and then another category Y amount. So that's a little separate, but it all feels unfair when they can't seem to get it straight. And there are other laws that help make sure that people understand what the bills will be, so that they're not surprised. We have these no surprise billing things in place now. But the other thing to something like this is it could be, and I don't know, without looking at the bills, without looking at the explanation of benefits, the ledgers of what's been paid, that you have a lingering bill from a provider. When you go into the hospital for any procedure, and especially the birth of a child, there's so many moving parts to the hospital system and who's there helping to deliver the baby, whether it's the obstetrician, their clinic, anything they provide, the nursing group, the hospital itself, the medicines, all of it. They get billed and they get sent to, in this case, you said it's Anthem, right?
Yeah, Anthem, UC Health are the two that
right.
kind of
and so those apart. Yeah, and those bills should have been provided to Anthem. Anthem says they've paid them. Anthem's only going to be able to tell you that they've either paid or not paid bills that they've received. So the hospital may have sent their bills, but there may be a provider who sent a bill to Anthem and it never made it to Anthem, or Anthem thinks they're disallowing it. If you got billed for a procedure that you got, you got billed. There's a procedure that was done, and they need to be paid for it. So unless they write it off, they have to get payment for it. And if Anthem's saying we're not going to pay it, then it falls on the patient to pay it. So the trick in something like this is making sure you've identified every single, and it's a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
It really is, but identifying every single bill that has been generated for that procedure, and then making sure that Anthem has all of those. Like, they may say, hey, yeah, we've paid the hospital bill, but it might not be the hospital bill that's what's outstanding, what's lingering. It's tricky. I have an outstanding, I have an issue with UC Health right now because I had a colonoscopy. I'm at that special age where you get those fun procedures done, and it's my insurance company is supposed to cover it, but I got a bill for part of it, and so I'm petitioning that. I don't want to have to pay it. I feel like I'll probably have to pay it because that's how it feels sometimes. But I'm gonna keep fighting it. I'm gonna fight the good fight.
Doubly insulting, that one right there. That's a tough one. Now,
it is.
The one red flag in Colleen's question was the fact it was 3.5 years ago. Is there a time limit of the statute of limitations on some kind of a medical bill? Can they stick you 10 years later and say, hey, we totally forgot about this. It fell behind a drawer. Sorry, you owe us $100,000 from 10 years ago. Where's the line?
That is a really good question. I haven't looked at that with these, so I can't say off the top of my head. I mean, presumably these bills, they would be able to show that they've somehow presented the bill to somebody, whether it was to her or to
within those 3.5 years, they've
or
asked
whatever
for money.
That statute might be. Exactly. I mean, there are statutes designed to protect people from a bill that just resurfaced 10 years later. Say, oh, by the way, we never sent this to you, but here you go.
Kind of like the guy we helped a while back that was trying to get shook loose for some more cash from a car accident. They say they already signed off and got their check. You can't show back up and say, hey, remember me from 5 years ago? I want some more money now.
Exactly. So, that's not a great answer. I think that the short answer is you have to keep doing some digging, make sure you've identified every single bill linked to every procedure, cross-check it with the ledger from Anthem, and maybe schedule a meeting with somebody in the financial office there at the hospital and say, hey, look, I just want to get this squared away because I don't want this to linger. I want to make sure everything gets to Anthem. Right. I met my deductible for that year. So, I shouldn't be paying for this anyway, but we need to make sure that this bill does get to Anthem then.
And they may restructure it, too, if you finally get with someone on the phone and say, hey, listen, this is not fair. Willing to help out. All right, well, I'll tell you what, give us half and we'll be good. We'll call it.
That's right.
Call it good. Because they're pretty good to work with. Most police are.
They are, and that's why even on mine, I hope I'm not at that level yet. I hope they haven't sent it to collections, but we'll find out.
Oh, man. Dude, one of these days,
I'm fighting hard.
On the air, we'll hear a knock in the background. All right, sure. There's the police. You're under arrest. Get down, Mr. McDivitt. Get down. Unpaid bill for a colonoscopy. Get down. Don't let him use his hands. Jeez.
I think it was for the anesthesia, too, for him. Like, wait, no, that's how it works. They don't just put that where they do extra. Without
do you want anesthesia or not? In various forms. Do you want real anesthesia or Carl can just punch you in the temple?
At this point, I take Carl. How much is Carl? Hey, so the other thing is too, that these Anthems of the world, they have appeal processes in place, so you can appeal a decision, and whether they have an independent medical person review the bills, there's a way to appeal a denial of payment too. That could be she's already done that, but just try to identify what might be lingering, what's not paid.
All right. Let's get to another one that's hopefully fairly easy. One from last month we had to Christina resubmitted. So it sounds like problems with the in-laws. So parent in-laws have a lien on the vehicle in Arizona. We want them to release the lien or surrender the vehicle without having to see them. So either get the lien off of our vehicle or take the car back, but we don't want to see you.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
That's ugly. That's an awkward Thanksgiving for sure.
Yeah.
So how can we do this without having to deal with them? Do we have any legal obligations to be present, or where the car or where and when the car is surrendered? Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
So either give us the car and leave us alone, or take the car back, but we don't want to see. Can you just leave it in the parking lot with the keys in it?
Yeah, if you've agreed to it and you've got it in writing that's what you're going to do, and they've said, yeah, you can go ahead and leave it in the parking lot with the keys in it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's their car in that sense.
But you need to orchestrate it. Because I can see you going especially if I don't know how ugly things are, but I assume they're not good. So I could say, all right, so we're leaving the parking lot and you pick it up there. Well, we went and it was gone. It got stolen, so you owe us now $4,000.
Now the car.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I can see this getting uglier. So they could set up a deal, say we're going to drop it off at this time. You can pick it up anytime after that. And then you'd need, like emails back and forth maybe? What's the best way to button it up?
Well, here's the thing. I think I'm not saying it tongue in cheek, but I don't think we're at that point yet. I think there are other things that need to be buttoned up before you actually agree to just leave the car in a parking lot. It sounds like they like to keep the car and just get the in-laws off the lien. And there is a way to do it in Arizona. Giant caveat, I don't practice law in Arizona, so I'm going off of some just like legal fundamentals here. And and then the Arizona Department of Transportation, their motor vehicle department has a form here for lien release. So depending on what kind of lien it is, and by the way, it may not be the only lien on the car. So just because you get the in-laws to release the lien doesn't mean that the car is yours free and clear. You ultimately want to, once a lien is released, you want to go and get kind of a clear title to it. And but the step to get the lien release is a form. This particular type of a lien is a form. There's a form on the Arizona Department of Transportation's website. You can go on their website, search for liens, and you can get this form that just needs to be filled out by the lien holder, releasing the lien. And then that gets taken with your other documents to go ahead and kind of re-register the vehicle with clear title.
Okay. But this all spins on the fact if the in-laws are willing to waive that lien, correct? It's not like they just file it and the lien's dead and the in-laws are disposed, right? The in-laws need to be participants. Which begs the question, how is it, can it be filed does it file with the Secretary of State or just with the DMV, the Motor Vehicle Department? And these are areas where I just don't know in Arizona. So, but the other thing though too is if you are going to try to just give them the car back, make sure you don't have any other obligations to them. Any other remaining payments. Are you also somehow on the title as a on the loan?
On the loan somehow. Who knows? So you just have to be really careful with that too, because once you've given them the car back, they have possession, 9/10 of the law. They got the car, and you may still be on the hook for payments to somebody. So you want to try to get a release for that too.
So even that is not easy.
Yeah, but I think all of this can be done. I think all of this can be done with email communication without having to see these people.
Because there's obviously something lying deeper here in regards to that. Maybe you could just say, hey, I know you guys want $4,000 for the car. We're striped. We'll give you $1,000. Just give us the car. Let's go our separate ways. But life's too short to quote Dennis Miller, life's too short for pissing and moaning. So maybe just kind of get things back together. Maybe, right?
It may be too short, but then that takes the fun out of things, doesn't it? I spend half my day.
We're gonna get it heavy. We got a couple calls too. We'll see if that's legal related or not. And then a question in regards to girl whose friend was killed in a motorcycle accident, and it's all kinds of questions. Do you have some guidance in that one, or is it going to be kind of oh, you do?
Yeah.
Am I going to be happy with your
You
guidance?
sound surprised. You sound surprised. I always have guidance.
Well, yeah,
it's
it's sad sometimes. Like some of these things I see, and it's like, oh, this is so simple. It's 1 + 1 = 2, but it's like, well, but sometimes it's a 1.1 + 2 - 5 divided by 5 times a million, and then it's like, wait, no.
You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
I'll tell you what, it's hot out here, though. It's humid.
It's muggy, too, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's very muggy.
Yeah, it's not cool. Not cool, and everyone's so angry. I always find that with the East Coasters. They're always so pissy. Why are they so angry? Because they're built on top of each other. That's probably why. All right, let's see here. We're almost there, man. It's already 9:44 on this Wednesday, and only time for a couple more here. One is a tough one from citizen Lizzie. A friend killed in a motorcycle accident in April. He had no will. He was common law married, but separated at the time of his death. His common law wife has a child that was 4 when he met. He claimed the daughter as his own prior to his common law marriage. He had meetings with a quote-unquote friend that resulted in a son in 92, 93. He did not know this child existed until the kid was 12 years old. Wow. And the friend then wanted nothing from him at that point, no money. My friend would try to spend time with the son, but only when the mother had a good day. She wanted him to leave his common wife and her daughter and be with her only. He let her know he would not. In retaliation, she wouldn't let him see the son. Once the son was of age, he would contact him via text. If he did reply, he would tell him he would need to check with his mother if he wanted to talk. So they never really kind of patched that up, even though he was emancipated. Now that my friend is deceased, the friend with the son is suing the estate, saying she's entitled, since her son's the only blood related in the common law wife, and the daughter that is technically not his have no rights. Jeez, man. So does she have any rights to the estate, since my friend didn't want a romantic relationship with her at all? Wow. So, yeah, he was done with her, but then he had nothing in writing. Oh, man.
You need to take a sip of water, maybe a nap. That was a lot of work.
That was a lot. That was a worry one. It was all sad, too.
It is. So it sounds like what you've got is like a guy dies, leaving behind his common law wife.
And daughter, which is not his own daughter. But
not his own daughter.
But he didn't technically adopt her, but claimed that the daughter was his own.
Well, here's the thing. I think really what this works out is there's no will. We have something in Colorado, a lot of states, intestate succession. So the idea is if you die intestate, which means you don't have a will outlining everything. There are statutes in Colorado under the probate code that dictate how your assets are distributed to the people that you've left. And the wife, a spouse, but in this situation it's a wife, common law, but has all the rights of a spouse where you've had you filed a marriage certificate, assuming that they have met all of the criteria to be considered common law.
What is that? Just X amount of years together, living in the same residence for a certain amount of time, or what is that?
It's holding yourself out as a married couple. I mean, it can be as basic as that. There are certain things, and I don't have all of them at the top of my head, but
like if you were to post a picture of you on Instagram, it says, me and my wife.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the only time you said that, and you guys weren't really cohabitating, other things, people might say, well, that was kind of a joke. Or you could say it was just kind of a silly thing. But yeah, there are some active things that you kind of have to do to then hold yourself out there. But once you've done that, then you're married. And it's by the same token, there's no such thing as a common law divorce. And at that point, you have to file for the formal divorce proceedings. Presumably, they haven't done it there. They are. So he is married. Let's assume the man who died is married. He's married to a woman who has a child from a prior relationship. That child is not technically his child unless he adopted her. So, but that is almost not relevant. It's kind of relevant, but what is also relevant is the fact that he had a relationship with another woman and he has a child. So he has a biological son who is now of majority age. The spouse gets an immediate share of a person's assets up to a certain amount, and then beyond that amount, they get a percentage share of what's left. So in a situation where you've got a child from another relationship, and then you also have a spouse, typically, the surviving spouse gets $150,000, the first $150,000, plus 1/2 of any of the balance if the other child is from a different marriage. I mean, I'm going over just the probate code rules here. Because there is not a child from the spouse. If they have a child, that may change the dynamic, because you've got a spouse and then you have a child from another relationship. So as I understand it, the spouse can get up to $150,000. I don't know how much is in this person's estate anyway. So if there's less than $150,000, that son might not be able to get anything. But if it's $200,000 that's left, the wife gets $150,000 plus another $25,000, because that's half of the remaining $50,000, and the son gets $25,000.
But we put
based on the way that I read the probate code, based on the way I understand the situation, the way I read the probate code. But again, I don't practice probate law, so you do need to confirm this with a probate lawyer. Now,
so
there's one other
just
issue.
Prioritize, like almost like a Pez dispenser of who gets what first.
Yeah, and the surviving spouse gets priority.
And that would be the common law wife.
The common law wife with that little baby, that little girl that's not technically his own. Okay. The idea is that, she's going to take care of that girl too, even though that girl actually has no claim to anything. And the surviving child does have a claim to some of it. A lot of possessions, a lot of what people have, though, when they die, to the extent that they are financial assets, are assets pursuant to a contract that dictates what happens to those assets when they die. Life insurance policies, for example, are typically will have a beneficiary, and that person just gets that money outside of the whole probate process anyway. So I don't know what kind of assets we're talking about here, but if it's at all significant, I mean, I think that son who's now an adult, if his mom wants to really take care of him, she doesn't have any claim to this money. The boy does. She does not. And I call him a boy, but it sounds like he's an adult now.
Yeah, young man.
He needs to get with an attorney and make sure his rights are being protected.
All right. I think she was more concerned about the common law wife and the daughter from all this. Interesting. All right, and then
making sure they get some.
Yeah, I think, and that's kind of what you said, that they are first up for anything that was left.
They are. Yeah, and so she needs to also get an attorney to
and then also, this points to a great problem we've had. You need to document some of this stuff so you don't leave people hanging like this.
Yeah, wills can be very helpful. It's tricky because if you've got a couple of different situations. You've got the people who have a ton of wealth. They've got lawyers helping them create trusts and figure out how to dispose of their assets when they die. You have people who and then you've got people in the middle, of course, but then you have people who don't have a lot of money, but they have possessions. They have things that are important to them and maybe important to people in their family. Whether it could be a guitar, it could be a sofa, it could be mementos in the house, like a collection of cups from various
Kansas
festivals.
City Chiefs Super Bowl cups, probably something like that.
Exactly. It's stuff that has on its own very little monetary value, but might have tremendous sentimental value to somebody in a family. And a will can help explain who is going to get what, so that you don't have kids, spouses, ex-wives fighting over something. Try to be clear about who gets what ahead of time, even if we're not talking cash.
And across the board, just document it. Now we get to a latecomer. Chad just checked in with a story. I know you're getting this kind of fresh Mr. McDivitt, so if we can't help him completely, we'll see if we can put this on ice until next month. So, Chad, I'm going to start the story. Basically, your daughter fell in love with a fellow, an ex-con. They got married. Probably you didn't endorse that marriage, I bet, huh, Chad?
I did not.
And it didn't end well. Matter of fact, you said it ended on the wedding night in a domestic violence case?
That is correct.
Wow.
Oh, God.
That's terrible. All right, and so pick it up from there. They bought a house together?
Yeah, and because of his past, he couldn't get on any of the financial paperwork because they wouldn't touch him on a loan or anything. Yeah. But my daughter put him on the deed when they moved in together.
So she did all the financial paperwork. It's all her, but his name's on the deed?
Along with hers, yes.
Along with hers. Okay. And he's living in the house and she's not?
She is living with us and he's living in the house.
How long has that been going on?
About 2.5 years now.
Oh, man. All right, yeah, so I know that's fairly complex, especially we only have about 3 minutes left.
Well, do what I can do here.
Segment. What are you thinking? Yeah. What your first thoughts?
Is it Chad, right?
Yes.
Have you spoken to a real estate attorney yet in the last 2.5 years about this?
I have not. I encouraged my daughter to speak to the realtor that sold the house to her because that woman was very knowledgeable, but I don't know if my daughter ever actually did because she's kind of a procrastinator. And if she did, I don't think she ever got
How old's the kid, by the way?
She is 31.
31, yeah.
All right. Well, who's making a house payment? Did they pay cash for this, or is there there's a mortgage then, obviously?
Yes,
because you talked about. Okay, so she's the one paying, or is he also paying?
He's paying.
Okay.
He's actually taking care of that, but
yeah. Well, here's the thing. He's on the deed, and unless he wants to be off the deed, he'll stay on the deed unless you can force him off. Yeah, you can. If he agrees to get off the deed, you can file fill out a form, file a quiet title, and clean up the deed that way. If he's not going to agree to just voluntarily give up his name on that house, you'll have to file, a quiet title action. That's one way to do it. Again, I'm not a real estate lawyer, and I really think she needs to consult with one, not the realtor, but an actual real estate lawyer. Because they're the ones who can help answer this. And yeah.
Is he up to date on the payments? Are you familiar with if he's actually paying the mortgage then?
As far as I know, he's paying as he's supposed to. Nothing's come back on her. Nobody's trying to collect anything off of her that I know of. So at least he's keeping up on the payments, but just seems really unfair that he's living in a house that he shouldn't be living in, basically, after what he did.
Yeah, right? Wow, that's amazing.
It's messy. It is messy, but there are court mechanisms. Now, that does not mean it's going to work. I mean, they bought this together. She made an agreement to then be on the hook for it. So I don't know that a judge is going to take him off the deed. The judge may have to force a sale of the home, though. In which case he gets off the deed. She gets off the deed. But
that'd be the way out, is just figure out how somebody to sell. But does he have to then be on the deed? Does he have to then agree to put the thing for sale?
Yes.
Oh,
in that situation. Well, unless it's a judicially forced sale.
Okay.
In which case there's no agreement. It's just the judge saying you're going to have to sell the house. But again, this is an area where you've really got to get expert legal advice, somebody who specializes in real estate law, and they deal with this stuff all the time.
Especially
they can give you
a
quick
with
answer.
The value
it's
of
worth
real estate
spending
around here too. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you spend I don't know how much, a few $100s probably to get a consultation with a real estate lawyer, but I think it would be worth their time.
Thank you for listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM, presented by McDivitt Law Firm.